A delayed inter-island shipment of fresh produce is impacting food distributors on Kauai. Now, the barge missed its scheduled arrival, forcing businesses to find alternatives. Raquel Kahlo explains how that's affecting local suppliers.
Earl Kashiwagi, general manager of Asahi's Produce since the 1970s, says this week's delay came as a surprise, forcing quick decisions to protect highly perishable food.
But this one just caught us off guard. There's not too many times this thing happens like this.
Kashiwagi says the shipment was scheduled to arrive Tuesday, but when it didn't, he received an update through Marine Traffic, a shipment tracking app. Young Brothers said the barge Makaala could not make a safe arrival at Navilivili due to a mechanical issue with the winch and returned to Honolulu for repairs, with delivery now expected Thursday. Still, Kashiwagi says timing was critical.
Produce is such a perishable thing.
So far, Kashiwagi says 8 out of 35 shipments were flown in by air, including pineapples, dole products, mushrooms, and berries. But 27 other shipments are still at the dock in Honolulu.
We've got enough product, to service everybody who wanted product. So the problem really isn't right now. The problem is when that overdue shipment comes in.
Greens such as lettuce, cabbage, broccoli, and some fruits are among the items he says may have to be sold quickly or thrown out altogether.
Bananas will turn into banana bread already because bananas cannot stay on the boat that long,
Kashiwagi says a single shipping container typically costs about $40,000, but switching to air freight has driven costs up by roughly 30% or about $15,000 more. Young Brothers said customers with delayed or damaged cargo should reach out to customer service. Each claim is reviewed individually and more details are available on their marine cargo insurance page. Raquel Kahlo for Hawaii News Now.